be back. And now I'm in a room I'm in a massive building in New York right now.
Oh, wow.
I've been in before, and I have a beautiful view of the Hudson.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh.
This
Where
is
do
a
you?
HBO Max building or Discovery or whatever it's called.
Oh. So you're in a
Mm.
corporate. Are you in a conference room?
I am.
Okay.
Ooh, so business official.
I know. So busy. Such an executive now.
I've changed.
Do you live mostly in New York? Where do you stay most of the time?
No, I live in LA
You do?
and in Northern California.
Okay. All right. Well, come back to LA soon because we
I
like
will.
it better when you're here.
I know
I'm
we're going to have
going
to
to the
lure you
park.
into person. That's the one thing is our friendship is bound by Zoom. We'll need to meet you in
No.
person.
Have we never done in person?
I don't think so.
Oh,
Oh,
I don't
weird.
think. I know
Molly's-
that I've met you in person, but I don't
Yeah.
think that there's an interview in person.
Well, let's just keep meeting this way, I
Well, let's
guess.
Yeah.
just
I'll be in
yeah.
a different background every time,
Yeah.
That'll be good. In a different conference room.
a different place that's not my own.
So, Elizabeth, Love and Death, it starts April 27th on HBO Max. You play Candy Montgomery, who people know about possibly, although I was watching it with my husband last night, he had no idea what
Neither
was
did I.
going on. He had not seen other adaptations of this story, he had not seen the, documentaries and stuff. And I was like, "Oh, just wait."
Yeah. I mean, it's a wild, wild story. When I first read the script and was sent the Texas Monthly article that covered this case, I genuinely thought it was short fiction. Um, I thought it was short narrative fiction. I did not believe it was definitely stranger. The saying of stranger than fiction. It's that and more. And so when I had my first conversation with David and Leslie, I didn't actually understand that it was a true story, and I didn't like Google it or anything because I don't usually Google things after I read scripts. I just assume they're made up, and that was an added element where I was kind of mortified by. But it didn't make it less interesting to play and to explore. And there's a part of yourself where you're trying to honor this person that exists in the world, and the woman who died, and not let anyone get off the hook, but also tell an entertaining story that that exposes maybe why people make the decisions they make, even when they're questionable choices.
Well, and that's what I was gonna. I mean, because obviously we don't want to give any spoilers or anything, but I think it's fair to say that in the pilot you'll see Candy Montgomery, basically go up to a fellow parishioner, a family friend, and say, "I'm into you. Would you be interested in having an affair?" I mean, as simple as that, in a way, and
It really
yet,
does.
and yet, there are layers of oppression, especially I think you could say religious oppression. I think definitely just like this basic need for human connection. I mean, there's a lot more layers to it. And I think, can you set up sort of who Candy Montgomery was in a way in this sort of Wiley, Texas, the small town, which is very much built around this church. I mean, that's sort of like
Yeah.
the big thing in the town, but also like has basic needs like anyone else, and so much more of a dynamic character than you think just on paper.
Yeah, it's all young families. They call it Silicon Prairie. It's where there's a lot. It was a tech boom in Texas in the 70s, and we're in 1978, and all of these families are doing all the things that they are supposed to do. They check all the boxes. They have the marriage, they have the house, they have the nicer house than the house that they started in. They have the kids, they have a church community. And this woman that I play is definitely someone who leads with aspirations and romanticism. And she has a romanticized vision of things that she never experienced or had. And she's also a doer and like a go-getter. And so when she decides that something that she's missing is lusty affair, she decides to proposition someone to have it with her. And it's not the sexiest affair you've ever seen, but it is filling a hole in her life that she feels, but it doesn't satisfy it, because you can't really satisfy this thing that you're chasing that is all based on comparisons and aspirations and projections of some sort of external life.
What was your what did you discuss? Because Jesse Plemons plays Alan Gore, the man that Candy Montgomery in real life had an affair with, and it led to a horrible, horrible tragedy, which we won't spoil. But what were your discussions with Jesse about, okay, what is the dynamic between these two people? What is the attraction? Why are they doing this thing? Because what is so kind of heartbreaking, and I assume there may be some truth to this, that they really, really, both of them did not want to hurt their spouses. They were very focused on that, and yet they were doing this incredibly selfish, destructive thing.
Yes, we talked a lot about their emotional intelligence being similar to being in high school when you fall in love for the first time, or you make questionable choices because you're following impulses without really thinking about them. And we talked about that a lot. And when you look at these, we have this book that we also used as a reference called Evidence of Love. That was the only interview or journalist, anything that Candy Montgomery participated in after the trial. And so in this book, you have letters that she wrote her husband when they were courting each other. And they seem so young and so naive. And we talked about that being a place that they're coming from. And so that was a big starting point for Jesse and I with Leslie Lincoln-Glatter, our director.
Well, and I thought the dynamic between her female friends that we see, including Pastor Jackie, who is unfortunately leaving the church, and Candy's like, no, you can't leave me. You know, there's this kind of like, you're my best friend, I need you. But also we see her revealing about this affair and really her kind of like gossip friend, this other woman, Sherry, played by Krysten Ritter. And the dynamic of Pastor Jackie's like, but you have Sherry. And she's like, ugh. But she's Sherry.
Yeah.
So even though you share everything with Sherry, which is
I can't get past the eyeshadow with Sherry.
Yes. Sherry, iconic.
Krysten Ritter looks amazing.
She has an amazing look.
Iconic.
And her
iconic.
hair looks unbelievable. Yeah, it's very it's so funny when I'm filming those kinds of scenes and thinking about the relationships. I really think it's funnier to take them at face value when you're playing them, as opposed to like leaning into the fact that she is speaking, from both sides of her mouth. If you play it at face value, to me, that every time she says something like that, she actually means it and then just does the opposite, I find just kind of more fun to play than like over analyzing it and being hyper aware of what's happening.
And what was your dynamic with Lily Rabe? Because it's such a fascinating, I mean, they're close friends, although it's not, it's a tense kind of friendship sometimes.
Yeah.
They have kids the same age and all of that. And yet it must have been really interesting to play, knowing that for, probably more than a year here, Candy was having an affair with Betty's husband.
Yeah.
And obviously that was in your mind, but completely, on the down low.
Mm-hmm. Her relationship with Betty is really uncomfortable. I think they're at their core very different types of women who believe in different values, and it's almost like those two women in no world actually were going to fully get along. And it's really about, it's I don't know. Lily had a lot of opinions about Candy, and I always there's a saving grace in my mind of playing her that I at least enjoyed because of her optimism, even if it was like totally ignorant, blind optimism.
What is next for you, Elizabeth?
Oh, nothing. I've been so unemployed.
I was going to say, are you taking a little break after this?
We finished in April, and I did a small little thing with a friend of mine, a little film. And other than that, I've been doing a whole bunch of nothing and a lot of reading and a lot of viewing and trying to figure out what to do next and with whom.
Well, that's, yeah, because I was going to say, like, you probably, like many people, when you sign on to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you're like locked in for an extended amount of time. And so I've always enjoyed some of the projects that you've picked when you've probably had time, like Sorry for Your Loss, we've had you on for, or even like Love and Death. And so what is it that you look for in a script when you have time? And now it seems like, allegedly, because you recently said, like, you don't have a contract, stop asking me about the Scarlet Witch, but, like, you know, you now have time to figure out, like, oh yeah, what do I want to do, and like what do you look for when you're thinking about signing on to a project?
Right now, I think the thing that I'm most interested in is just a director that I want to work with, people who have strong visions and tonally maybe have similar taste. And I do, however, even if I do love a director and I read a script and I don't know how to play what they're asking me to how they want me to be in the film or the script or the show, I think if I don't have an instinct on how to play it genuinely after thinking about it for quite some time, I think I'm just going to make the show worse or the film worse. And so I just, even if it's someone I want to work with, that ends up happening. And so I'm being picky right now, only because I also want to do right by someone who I respect and not just say yes because I want to work with them. Yeah.
And do you ever think about going back and doing theater?
Oh gosh, all the time. I was really hoping to do a play this year. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it didn't come together, sadly. But yes, I really want to do theater. I think the greatest thing about WandaVision and Love and Death, getting to film them so close to each other, is they're both really physical jobs. And it made me really want to get back on stage.
What are you looking for? It's obvious, like,
no, there's a play that I do want to do. It's a two-hander, and sadly it just didn't come together with an actor who I thought I was going to be making it with. But that was a bummer. But I was hoping to do that this year.
Well, maybe
that's why
later.
I also have a lot of free time. But maybe something else will come up.
I'm curious about your experience on Wind River, which was so brilliant and I love. And Taylor Sheridan, of course, is now completely wrapped up, you know, just superstar writer, director, executive producer, and has just, you know, released incredible movie after incredible movie. But I'm curious about working with him, but also just being in the freezing cold and working on Wind River.
It was a really hard job and a really fulfilling one. I think sometimes with being an actor, you go home and you're not that tired from work and you are exhausted every day from battling elements.
Yes.
And also what we also had to shoot, but also just the elements itself made you so physically tired, and I loved it. Taylor was an amazing leader, especially since we were in such crazy situations. We were actually filming in blizzards. We were going to set on snowcats. Like, it was wild. And you need someone who really understands those elements as your leader. And so he did a phenomenal job with that. And it was a really great experience. I mean, the training that I got to do, learning how to use a Glock, I had so much time and training with that, and I never thought I would ever want to be anywhere near a fake or real gun. And there was it was an amazing experience being able to understand the responsibility of what it means to be around something like that, and to really protect it and protect everyone around you. And it was some of the best people I got to work with on that too, who were amazing at their job. So it was a really fun project, and meant a lot to me and to everyone who worked on it.
At what point, because you started, you know, so early, you know, working with, you know, in your sister's movies and stuff like that.
It's hardly working.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. At what point did you decide, oh, I don't only want to take acting seriously, but I want to go study it. And because you at NYU and Atlantic Theater Company, Moscow Art Theater, like you really dived in with the craft. But at what point did you decide that's what I want to do?
Well, it was all I did as a kid, and it was all my friends did as well. It was really our community and our group. Like every recess was creating our favorite television show into a musical, and every Spanish oral presentation was we made a musical. Like we couldn't stop. For the friends that I grew up with, we participated in the same summer camp every year. Where we did 3 plays every summer, and I did ballet. And so it was just something I always did. And there was a moment where as a child, I thought I wanted to be a professional actor, and I missed one Nutcracker because I missed too many rehearsals. And so my ballet teacher didn't let me do a Nutcracker performance, and it broke my heart. And then I realized at that moment that I want to be an actor when I'm an adult, and I want to keep being able to do ballet and to play sports. And, so that lasted 3 months. And then it was really deciding about going to college when you start to focus on, is this something I'm serious about? And I do think in high school, I really learned a lot about Russian theater and Russian history and the importance of the theater to the Russian people throughout history. And I think I was able to separate whatever the experience of living in LA within a certain film industry and what certain parts of it that I didn't like. I was able to separate that from the tradition and history of storytelling that I could like pedantically or pretentiously attach myself to in a way that justified wanting to be an actor.
What were your favorite shows that you turned into a musical when you were a kid?
We did, Betty La Fea, before Ugly Betty was an American show. My friends and I would watch Betty La Fea on TV, and we would pretend to translate it. So we created an entire Betty La Fea musical in Spanish class.
So sophisticated.
I know, my God.
We thought so. We also loved Waiting for Guffman so much. So everything was, we stole so many stool room. Everything was a stool room play on words where we changed all of the words out of the musical at the end of Waiting for Guffman for every single history play. That Angelica's Window we made into a musical.
Were you like growing up, like being on the sets of like Full House and your sister's movies, or were your parents like, no, you need to be in class, you need to be in school, or were they letting you like run around in Paris and all these places that your sisters would be filming?
Yeah, I never went to the fun places they went during the summertime because I had my theater camp. And I felt like I was missing out. Like if they went to Rome, they went to Paris, they went to Australia. I never went to any of those places until I went to them as an adult. And I knew that they weren't going anywhere, but my theater camp, I would be missing out on. And so that's why I didn't go. But no, I think the only times I was really on set was when it was easier for my parents to have 4 kids in one place after school.
Elizabeth, I wish we could. I could literally talk to you for hours about Candy Montgomery. I could talk to you for hours about anything, but Candy Montgomery, we could literally dive into. But I literally, when I realized that there are people on this planet that do not know this story, I don't want to give anything away because it's so compelling anyway.
And a
this
wild
is really
ending,
well done.
by the way, too. Not to spoil, but like kind of a wild ending. So I'm curious how it'll be portrayed in the series. Yeah,
there's a wild ending. All I'm going to say is I got 3 episodes in.
Same, yeah.
Saw the axe. All I'm going to say, but that's a big shocker if you don't know the story.
Yeah, you really don't think that's where this show is going.
You really don't. You really don't. Anyway, it's going to start April 27th on HBO Max. It's called Love and Death. Elizabeth Olsen, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me again, you guys.